Hey everyone, my name's Ashlyn and this is my process video for week 4. So I chose I chose one of Man Ray's photos to emulate. And you can see that he takes a very surrealist approach, very metaphorical too, I think, especially for the time. And I personally love his style, and I thought this would be someone great because his photos definitely portray emotion, but also in a very simplistic and minimalist way, which I really, really like. When starting to think about what I wanted to do for my model in terms of approaching this look, I decided I wanted to go for a more 1920s look, even though, the photo I believe was taken in sometime around 1940. I thought that the 1920s makeup would really look a lot better with this. It definitely fit the vibe of the picture a lot better, so I went with that in the end. For preparation, I went out and bought some fake eyelashes that would look good once I put mascara on them, very separated, like in the main photo. And then people told me this was a really good idea. After I did it, I took a hot glue gun and I created small, I guess, circles with the hot glue because I was having trouble finding something that I would be able to stick onto my model's face and that would stay in the middle of, taking photos and not fall off. But also, they aren't clear like the original photo, and I actually turned out liking it better that way, but it definitely fit. After I did that, I had my model lay down against the same black background and kind of got an idea of what I wanted to change and what I wanted to perfect in week 4. And I didn't realize this until the middle of the thing, but I was actually supposed to take my main photos during week 3 and then edit them during week 4. What I found out worked better was that I took kind of like a pre-production photo during week 3 and got an idea of exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to approach it, and then took my final photo during week 4 and edited in week 4. So in week 4 for makeup, like I mentioned before, I really wanted to go for that 1920s vintage look. So what I did with my model is I actually glued down her eyebrows and powdered them, and then I drew above them with black eyeliner and went over it with powder after, so that it could get that very precise and thin line that is very well known for 1920s makeup styles. Then I did the tiny red lip that you also often see. And then I put, the fake eyelashes and then mascara as well after that, so they could look very separated but also bold at the same time. And then finally, I put on the fake glass tears, and I actually applied them with eyelash glue, so they stayed very well, to say the least. With my raw photos, I took quite a lot just to make sure I could have many options for what I did and didn't want. My model was very tolerant. She's my younger sister, and she put up with me messing with her the entire time. Like, no, move this way, move that way. It was kind of hard to get the very distressed, worried look, but also not too worried, like scared out of their mind. So what I ended up doing was having her do kind of different expressions. Like you can see the first picture at the very top left-hand corner is she looks kind of happy and satisfied, and then some of the other ones she looks content, and then the other ones she looks scared shitless, right? So I took lots of photos like that, and throughout this process, this entire month, I actually found that I don't have a specific workflow, and when I try to force myself to have a specific workflow, it just doesn't work out for me in the end. So for my first part of editing, I chose to put the black and white filter on first that I wanted, and messed around with it a bit, because I found that if you try editing, and with the type of editing I was needing to do, if you did it in color first, it would just not turn out right, and you would get weird shadows in different places, and it would pick up things that you didn't want it to pick up. So I chose to do that first so that it could look as good as possible. In my my editing part 2, I wanted to make sure I glued down her eyebrows for the specific purpose that I wanted to be able to edit them out completely And so you just saw the very thin black eyebrow that you typically see. And for that, I mainly used the Clone Stamp, Smudge, and Blur tool, and I kind of just like got rid of them completely. On the top photo that's right next to editing part 2, I actually didn't end up incorporating that into my project, mainly due to the fact that I didn't really like how it turned out, but I still really enjoyed the photo because it was a different perspective that Man Ray actually hadn't, it's like sort of like what he had taken in some photos, but not quite. So I really liked the photo, but it didn't turn out, really how I wanted, and I couldn't really figure out how to make it any different. So this is my final photo. I feel like it turned out really, really good. I'm really happy with it. I've liked how, I remember I mentioned in previous projects for this class that I wanted to make it more modern, and while I didn't stray far from the picture that much, I definitely feel like I got a more modern sense. Maybe it's just because, the type of camera that I'm using and everything, it obviously can't quite be the same, but it turned out exactly how I had wanted, and I couldn't have asked for anything better, really. What I learned this month is that, like I mentioned earlier, a specific workflow just doesn't really work for me. I work way, way better if I just kind of go with the flow of what I'm doing and, work with what feels best, because if I have a specific set of rules that I need to follow, or ideas per se, I usually end up don't following them anyway because I choose doing something else that actually turns out looking better, or I get so stressed out by trying to follow those specific rules or whatever they might be that I end up not making the project as good as it could be, or it doesn't turn out how I would like it to be. And not only that, but I found that if you're doing a project like this, choose a photographer that you personally identify with and that your style is very close to. And I had that luxury with Man Ray because I've always loved surrealist type photography, so it was really easy for me to emulate and get a good overall picture of how I wanted it to turn out. But I could see why for other people that might not be the case, because a lot of people are still figuring out their style in terms of photography. So if you can find a photographer that would, that is like your own style, then you'll be set, essentially.